Welcome to Worthy and Abundant, the podcast that is dedicated to teaching every single soul on this planet that you are worthy. You are worthy just for breathing. You are worthy of living a life you love. You are deserving of all of your desires. We aren't here to survive. We are here to thrive, and abundance is your birthright. I am so excited you are here. My name is Linda Brand. I am your coach. I am a certified life coach, an empowerment coach, a self-love expert, and an EFT practitioner. I am on a mission to teach every single soul on this planet that you are worthy of all of your desires, that you are enough, you are more than enough, and you can create anything you desire. You can be, do, and have anything. Your limitations are in your mind. You are worthy. Let's do this. Thank you for being here. Enjoy the show. And if you do, please take a moment to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Let's grow this community. Let's create a new planet together. Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for being here. I know you have so many things to listen to and so many things to do, but it means the world to me that you're here listening. And today's guest, I always say I'm excited for my guests, but today is a special guest. I heard her episode on another podcast, and it just really inspired me and encouraged me to reach out to her because her story is so powerful and vulnerable and courageous. And today's guest is Daniela Tilbrook. She's a trauma survivor and coach who's turned her story into a source of healing for others. After surviving a decade of child sexual abuse by a family member and staying silent for many years, Daniela found her voice, and now she helps others do the same. Her upcoming book, Not My Shame, Healing Childhood Trauma, comes out on June 27th, which is Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Awareness Day. I am so honored to welcome her to the show today to talk about healing, courage, and what it really takes to reclaim your life after trauma. Welcome, Daniela, to the show. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Linda. Lovely to meet you.
So nice to meet you. Yes.
Thank you for inviting me onto your podcast.
Absolutely. I was listening to your story on Hal Elrod's podcast, and I was just glued listening because I felt some connection with you, being that I carried shame for many, many years. I love the name of the book. Can you tell us, Daniela, take us back to the moment you decided it was time to break the silence and begin your healing journey?
I mean, to be honest with you, Linda, it did take a really long time. And it was during COVID. So this is going back to 2021, was when I finally told my husband about what had happened to me.
Oh my God.
So it's only in in fairly recent history. And my healing only really began when I told him.
So how long were you married before you told your husband?
Gosh, that's a good question. 14 was a good 7 years.
Wow.
A while, because in my mind this was something that I was just going to take to the grave. I just didn't want to deal with it, and I kind of just pushed it down and down, and I thought I don't need to tell him because this is going to be something that's I'm not going to tell anyone.
I see. Did you have any physical symptoms in your life from like holding down those feelings for so long? Because I know that I personally believe that unresolved trauma manifests in the physical body with pain or something, or even, anxiety and different things.
In 2017, I did have breast cancer, and I do attribute a lot, that to just years of kind of suppression and not dealing with this. And I don't know if you've read the book by Gabor Mate, When the Body Says No.
I haven't. I'm going to write it down. I've read The Body Keeps the Score. So When the Body Says No.
Yeah, when I read that book, I was just, it just kind of showed me the seriousness of not dealing with trauma and how it does kind of manifest in the body. And, I do believe that my breast cancer was caused by unresolved trauma and also just living in survival for years and not looking after myself, and the kind of smoking and drinking and excessive partying and everything that kind of goes along with it.
Absolutely, yes. It's very common. Just not dealing with it, trying to numb the pain in some different way. So, your upcoming book, Not My Shame, I love the title. It's a powerful title. What does that like mean to you, and how did you come up with that name? I love that.
I guess I don't know, I finally realized, it just isn't my shame. And, this happened, it was a family member that was my abuser. So you're a little bit conflicted because you also want to protect them because it's your family. So it's taken a really long time to kind of, first of all, realize that it's not my shame, that I was carrying someone else's shame. And I think when I finally realized that, I thought, I've been living for so long in this shame that it isn't mine. So I think it was that really kind of bold statement, like, not my shame, which, yeah, is the title of the book.
Yeah. And so tell everyone who's listening, it was your stepfather,
Yes, that's correct.
and he was an ex-priest.
Yes, yeah. This is the stranger than fiction part of my story, but yes, he was a former Catholic priest.
Right. And your father, what happened to your father? He was a priest as well, Catholic priest.
Yeah, so my biological father was also a Catholic priest who got my mum pregnant and then had nothing to do with us.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, it's also quite an unbelievable sort of story, but yeah, and having also been then brought up in a really strict Catholic home with all the kind of religious sort of trauma, and yeah, it's all quite unbelievable, really.
Did your
Yeah.
mother, like, I mean, was she someone, I'm just curious, like that knew and like shoved it under the rug or something? Like,
This is one of the unanswered questions. Unfortunately, we're now estranged, but she did claim that she didn't know. But I think also she hasn't really acted in a kind of supportive way, that I suspect that this is just something so awful that she's just kind of pushed it down and is just not dealing with it herself. So it's easier just to kind of, I don't know, live in denial, because I think looking at the truth would be just so incredibly painful for her.
yeah, yeah. Do you have other siblings?
So I've got two brothers, and also I found out, so that the biological father went on to have another family. So I
Mm.
do have a half brother and another half sister. I've met my half brother, but haven't met the half sister. And
Mm.
there was a lot of resentment as well. When I found all this out, because I didn't actually find out that he wasn't my biological dad until my early 30s. And then
Oh,
I find out about this other father. And then I found out that he had kids not that long after having me. So there was quite a lot of resentful, being resentful that he had, he was able to be a dad to them, but not to
oh
me.
yeah. Yeah, and then resentment is another low. Before we hit record, you and I were chatting, and I was saying how your story resonated with me because I personally carried a lot of shame for many, many, many years, not really knowing that it was the lowest vibration. I had shame from my past. I got in trouble with the law. I was carrying felony convictions. I was 17. I was on drugs. Nothing's what it looks like. That's one thing that this, podcast will teach. Nothing's what it looks like. I'm grateful to be alive, but I carried so much shame for so many years. I mean, for even more things than that. And even not having a college degree, I felt shame. I mean, I just was clueless that we are worthy just for breathing. We are worthy for being alive and breathing. And so, but yes, so your mom, okay, so you have sibling, yeah, and resentment is truly a block to abundance and a block to blessings. You were saying, that you weren't thriving, you were surviving. And that was your, default program of basically your entire life. So when you told your husband is when the breakthrough kind of started.
Yes, no, definitely. And I just love what you said, Linda, before about just being worthy. If someone had told me that like years ago, I think I would have, spared myself decades of pain. And the great thing that I can do with my daughters is to tell them that you are worthy. And I'm really sorry, I've just forgotten the question you just
Oh,
asked.
it's okay. No, it's very powerful. This is just what I want to convey is that, yeah, they don't have to achieve things. They don't have to, they're lovable just for, being alive. So yeah, we're worthy. The question, it was just that the start of your healing began when you told your husband, right? And so what have been some of the most transformational tools or practices that supported your recovery?
I think when I told my husband, it was a very clear, this is so wrong, because the only other people that knew before that were members of, my family of origin. And we were all in that kind of blurred boundaries, all being kind of in the bottle of shame together. But my husband, not being in that bottle of shame, was able to kind of look at it and sort of say, what the F,
Right.
why haven't you done anything? And it was just a really clear boundary that no one had ever kind of said to me, like, this is so wrong. And to him, it was so obvious that it was so wrong. So I think him being so adamant, and then, that kind of, you're going to have to do something. It was kind of, you can't just not do anything. Because what I was doing was waiting until my abuser died, because I thought that would be like my get out of jail free card. And then I wouldn't have to do anything. And then I wouldn't have to tell anyone. But he just kind of just lived on and on.
Oh my
Like
goodness. And then
prolonging this.
he is in prison now. And so you did pursue the court in 21?
Yes, he did plead guilty. So I was spared of a trial. So it was just one day in court.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. Good for you. And then the book, writing the book, that had to be very healing, right? Can you
yes.
share how did writing become a part of your healing?
I mean, it definitely helped. And even if no one ever read the book, I think it was so therapeutic, so many tears, just really honoring that child and everything she'd kind of been through and survived. Yeah, it was a really cathartic process. And I'm hoping that, that people that do read it will get healing themselves and find benefit in the book.
Yes, absolutely. So you talk about breaking generational cycles. What does that look like in practice, and what inspired you to be a cycle breaker?
I just could not pass down all these unconscious habits or living unconsciously or all that. You're not worthy. I tell my children that, that I love them unconditionally. So it doesn't matter, what they're achieving in school or what, I just love them. Yeah, unconditionally.
Yeah.
But, um, but yeah, sorry, Linda, I've forgotten your question again.
That's okay. No, it's the cycle,
Okay.
breaking the generational cycle. So as a coach, how do you support others in reclaiming their power after trauma?
Are you ready to step into a life where you feel truly worthy and abundant? For the past couple of years, I've helped so many women just like you break free from limiting beliefs and create lives they absolutely love. Here's a testimonial. Before coaching with Linda, I was stuck in self-doubt, and now I'm running my own business and attracting abundance in my life every single day. That's just a glimpse of the transformation happening inside my Worthy program and the Worthy and Abundant community. In the Worthy program, you'll get the tools and guidance to step into your power, heal, and design your dream life. And in my Worthy and Abundant membership, you get the sisterhood, the support, plus live Q&As with me and a treasure trove of courses to help you grow into the best version of yourself. If you're ready to silence that inner critic, embrace your worth, and connect with a tribe of amazing souls, now is your time. The links are in the show notes, and the first 2 weeks in my community are free. I can't wait to see you there.
So what we do is, I provide that kind of that container where people can share what's happened to them, if that's what they want to do. And it isn't therapy, but it is looking much more towards the future, where we start to, build those kind of higher emotions and start going for things in the future, and not letting the past like define you so much.
Exactly. The past is completely gone. I mean, we have to heal it, but we don't have to let it identify us or define who we are, right?
Definitely. And when I coach younger people, to me, I get so much satisfaction knowing that I can help potentially change the trajectory of someone's life where they're not going to spend the next 20 years in this kind of trauma recovery or trying to get over this trauma before they can really start living.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was sharing with you also before we hit record that I saw someone's post on social media, and she was saying that her father was homeless or something, and that he was the one, when she told him what was going on, that said, this is wrong. You have to go to, take this to court. So I'm so impressed that this is incredible that you did pursue. Were they still married, your mom and your stepfather, when you did the court and all that in 21?
Yeah, so they were still together. So
Wow.
this is where the tricky, it became obviously very tricky because it always felt like my mum didn't really choose me. I think she just sort of pushed it down and just stayed with him. And
So she has a lot of fear. She was not an empowered woman. She was running her life through fear, basically, probably fear of,
and
yeah.
and I do have compassion for my mum. My family are from Croatia, so we were brought up in the UK. But my mum never, her English, even after all these years of being here, isn't that great. She was very dependent on him. So there are kind of other factors. I mean,
Right,
but yeah,
right. She probably
so
did the best she could with what she knew and how, right? I mean, unfortunately, I don't know. Like, it's wonderful that you have compassion for her. And I did have another guest on my show who is a coach named Jessie, and you can go back and listen. And she was abused by her father for quite a long time. And he was dying in the hospital, and she went and she forgave him on his deathbed. And so that was a gift that she gave him. And it was just listening to it gave me like chills because, she used to set traps in her room, knowing he's coming, like all these like things. And she chose to give forgiveness to this person. But yeah, I'm not comparing stories. I just think it's, another woman that suffered and carried all kinds of things for years. She carried like, I'm not good enough. I'm not all these things. Like, I carried that I'm not good enough, and I didn't have physical abuse. We all have a journey, right? We're all on our own journey. And, I respect that you had the courage, because it takes a lot to do what you did. And same with Jessie, chose to forgive. I don't remember if he went to prison, or I don't feel like that never happened. But with you, it did, and I'm so glad that you did that. So what do you wish more people understood about trauma, especially the long-term effects?
it's just really unhelpful when people say things like, oh, I don't know, almost like, oh, just don't talk about it, or blame you, or I think some people find it so uncomfortable that the subject matter that they sort of shut it down and then end up blaming the victim. I've had sort of family members, say to me, oh, why didn't you stop him? And I'm sort of saying, I was a child. And,
Right.
it's, the power dynamics between a child and an adult are very, very much in favor of the, adult. And it's when you have to kind of explain these things that it's really hurtful. It's kind of, and it's almost, oh, just don't bring this here. It's just, it's just too shameful. Like, just let's sweep it under the carpet. Let's just pretend it didn't happen. And that's just so, it's just so hurtful. And it's, and I think, that was a bit of the motivation actually for the book as well. It's like, it's not my shame. You can't like, it takes you it took me years to, finally come out of the kind of sexual abuse closet. And then when I do, it's like people are kind of just trying to throw you back in there. It's like, oh no, don't say anything.
People are ignorant, and they probably don't mean that. But it does, like when you ask, why didn't anyone do the word why shouldn't even be in the vocabulary. I heard that once from a coach, but like the past is gone to question things that it's just, yeah, don't understand. So what would you say to a survivor who is still in silence and feels afraid to start the healing journey?
I would ask them just to tell someone that they trust and have a really good think about who can kind of take the information, who will be able to hold that information. Because in the early days, I did tell a few people that just weren't ready for it. And it was really quite damaging to me because it really sort of, I think it delayed my own personal kind of healing journey. And I have, I've met survivors that have, told their doctor or, or a medical person and then kind of haven't really been seen or heard. And it can then take that person another maybe couple of years. There was someone that then took them another 5 years to finally be able to kind of disclose again because it's so difficult to tell someone. And then when you are shut down, that's really damaging. There are a lot of kind of online, there's a lot of resources. I mean, there are in the UK, there's, I'm sure in the US as well, there's like survivor groups, or if you have a trusted friend, someone that you can tell. And, the first person I did tell was my brother. And that was such a relief to finally tell someone. Actually, sorry, the first person I told, I don't know if you have that over there, they're like the Samaritans. It's like it's like a helpline people ring up.
No, I mean, we have things like that, but it's not called this. I don't know if it's called the Samaritans, but so did you have a therapist though, like all your adult life?
Oh, I had loads.
You did? So you've told therapists, right?
Oh yeah, so I've told, like mental health professionals, but I was very much like treating the symptoms. I was kind of treating the symptoms of depression and anxiety and stress, but not really. It took me a long time to actually deal with the root cause, and within the last couple of years, I've had like EMDR therapy. I also went to the Netherlands on like an ayahuasca retreat, which was really helpful as well, just to kind of and in that I was shown actually that forgiveness, we talked about that earlier, that I had to forgive and I had to let this go because I was holding on to it all kind of so strongly and I was only hurting myself.
That's right. That's right. Right. It's very challenging now to forgive someone that hurt you, and you were a victim and you are a survivor. You were a child. So let's see. How can friends or loved ones support someone who's healing from deep trauma? Like, what would be more supportive? Just listening?
Yeah, listening. I mean, it's really, I find it lovely when someone just says to me, like, I'm so sorry for what happened to you. It's something, that I've always wanted my family to sort of say to me, or yeah, a friend actually texted me after she heard the Hal Elrod interview, and she said, "In case I've never said this to you before, I'm so sorry for what happened to you." And I was just on the tube, and I just had like tears in my eyes. It was that feeling of just being acknowledged, or someone like acknowledging that you've been through something really, really tough. Because a lot of it's just, oh no, just don't, almost like dismissing it when it's something that was just so painful and affects so many areas of your life, and that it's taken me kind of decades to heal from.
Yeah, absolutely. What does healing look like for you now? Like, it's not an endpoint, but like a way of living. Like, what's a daily practice that maybe helps you stay connected to your truth and your peace?
Definitely meditation, silence, being in nature, journaling, doing something with the pain, like writing the book, hoping that it will help other people. So there's that kind of purpose in that pain. But a lot of meditative silence, spending time, in nature as well is really healing. I look after myself, sort of exercise and all the other kind of well-being things as well.
Yeah, I love that. So the book is it an inspiring memoir? Is it a memoir? Is it a nonfiction? Like what kind of book exactly is it, and who is it for?
Okay, so the first half of the book is The Dark, and that's a memoir, but it's quite a fast-moving memoir. It kind of goes through the decades fairly quickly. And then the second half of the book is The Light, and it's kind of, different therapies that I've tried. And a bit more like a guide rather than a prescription, because everyone's so different. So it's that kind of guide towards the light, and so the second part's kind of healing. Okay. So I think anyone that's has kind of been through trauma would find it helpful. And in the kind of, in my own personal story, I try and just show like the massive impact that this also has on your adulthood, sort of going into adulthood with very low self-esteem, low confidence, low assertiveness. But what is wonderful is that all of these things can be built. It's not like they're static. So you can build your confidence and assertiveness and kind of rewire our brain. So there is definitely hope, even though, you know, I've been kind of stuck in these stories for a really long time. But I think with that work, you can change your story and not so much live in the past anymore.
Right, right. I had low self-worth also my entire life, most of my life, and low self-esteem. I'm curious, did you have a book coach? I mean, just curious, did you have a book coach or anything?
Yes, I did actually. Yeah, his name's Marcus Young. I met him. Yeah, he lives in the Netherlands, and he's coming over actually next month for the book launch. That'd be really nice. But he's been really, really helpful. I was able to kind of, you know, talk to him. We had ideas. We went through the different like drafts, and yes. I don't think I could have done it without a book coach. There's so many like stages to this like journey. It's like definitely climbing this big mountain. But he was like my guide.
And is it a self-published or publisher book?
So self-publishing.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Yeah, because I've been through a bestseller book course and I've co-authored a book, but I'm like I have a chapter in an anthology book, but I'm also writing my book, but it's still procrastinating a bit, but there's just so much to do. But you attracted a husband, even though you had the low self-worth, low all these things, you met a man and got married and had kids, right? So
yeah, I guess I mean, I have I've been reading self-help books for about 20 years. So I do think some of that had really filtered through as well. Like I wanted to break these patterns. Like I didn't want to keep attracting, like my dating history was just horrific, like just men that just terrible. I mean, just one guy took all my money. Just
oh geez.
But when you have really low self-worth, you just don't think you're worth it. So you're just taking these little breadcrumbs of kind of attention.
Okay. Yeah.
I met Jason when I was 35. So I was a little bit older as well. So I think by that point thankfully I'd learned, and I have had quite a lot of, counseling and therapy. So I started to see these patterns.
You learned to love yourself.
Yes.
Yes, because that's so huge, right? Respect yourself, love yourself, know your value, know that you're valuable no matter what. And then you guys were married for 7 years before you told him?
Yeah, I think it's about 7 years. Yeah.
Incredible. That's incredible. Because that's a lot to hide, just to your best friend. I'm just saying it's, a lot. And you, so let's see what else. So you were saying you've been reading self-help books for 20 years, you've been doing therapy, and then COVID hit. And what prompted you to tell your husband? Just curious. And that's when kind of the whole journey of.
I guess this is where, I have written about this in the book. See, this is where it gets really uncomfortable for me to even talk about. But okay. I created this kind of cognitive dissonance life where to the outside world, he was my dad. So, my husband had met him and this all played out. And it's an interesting thing because it's almost like you don't let yourself think about it too much. You also realize the absurdity of the situation. And you're sort of thinking, oh, well, he's going to die soon. He's an old man, but he just lived on and on. So my plan was very flawed. And I think the silence of COVID, not having to see people. And I think I just realized that my death plan had a major flaw, like he was just not dying. And I'd been waiting for this death that just wasn't, happening.
Yeah.
And avoidance, that's what it was. Avoidance for years where I finally just had to do something. I just couldn't keep sticking my head in the sand.
Right. And then is that how you became estranged from your mother because she didn't want this out and you were writing the book and stuff? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, it was after, he went to prison and, I was sort of
seeing. She raped you or something?
I mean, probably on some level she did, but also, I don't know, I've sat her down with photos of me and I sort of, throughout my childhood, and I'm sort of saying this was happening at this age. And then I showed her pictures of me at university saying, there's pictures of me like heavily drinking, like trying to show her the impact of what
Right.
this had had on her.
Right.
He just wasn't able to see me or console me or comfort me or just say those magical words, I'm so sorry for what happened to you, or is there anything I could do to help you move forward?
Yeah.
There was none of that. It was just denial, just sort of shutting it down. That kind of sticking, the family approach to things was just to stick your head in the sand and just
Right.
not deal
Yeah.
with anything.
It's almost, it's even also a generation thing. Like people, that's how people handle things way back. Like today, we're always like open and honest with our kids. Like you can tell me anything. And it's like back then, it was just kind of different. Tell us about how you got on, you used Magical Morning, you used Hal's book, right, to help you a little bit. And how did you get on his show? That's so amazing.
Just that was quite a scoop. I wrote to him. So this was before I'd even started promoting the book. I remember thinking, oh, I'd love to be on Hal Elrod's podcast. And I knew a lot about him and I'd been following him for years. So it just felt like it was just a natural kind of
I love it.
letter. And when he agreed, I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, wow. It felt like a real, like, it was great. And then I got to meet him. So that was really cool.
That's so beautiful. I love that. I love that. And that's how I found you. And I was so intrigued. And your story is empowering, and you're going to help a lot of people with your book. And if there's one thing you want people to take away from this conversation, what would you want that to be? Like, what would you like listeners to walk away with from this conversation?
I would just really urge people to, it took me 17 years from remembering to telling someone, which was my husband, that wasn't someone external. So in those 17 years, I think I wish that I'd started my healing sooner.
Mhm.
And I would just urge people to really start that healing journey, that it isn't your shame, and not to be stuck, because all that time that I was in shame, I was still just living in survival. I wasn't creating anything. So it's taken me until nearly 50 to kind of get to this point in my life where I would just urge people to, first of all, realize it's not their shame, and to seek, the healing for themselves, that they are worth it.
Yes, I love that. And what was your career, or what did you go to university for?
I did marketing and psychology.
Oh, okay. Psychology, yeah.
And then in my early 30s, I retrained to be a personal trainer. So I was bullied at work as well. It's I have all the classic, like, low self-esteem. I was bullied at work, and I then just couldn't go back into an office environment. And then I retrained to be a personal trainer, and like, I teach yoga and things. So it feels much more aligned to
I
me
love that. Oh, that's great. That's great. And how many kids do you have?
too.
Two. Nice.
And I've been teaching them about self-esteem and assertiveness since they were really little.
That's great. That's
And
telling them how great they are and how, supportive. Yeah, that's amazing. Is there any last words or anything else you want to share? And then we can, people can pre-order the book. I know, right?
Yeah, just, I guess I would just like to say that healing is possible. It's a really crappy hand to be given in life, and it takes, it just affects so many aspects of your life. But healing is possible, and creating a future is possible, and putting these things in place where you don't have to live in survival, because it's just not a very fun way to live, as well.
Right. I was that people pleaser and survival, and I didn't even know anything, but till like I said, I sold my home and moved across the country 3 years ago. I had been reading the books and listening to the Tony Robbins and doing all that stuff, but it wasn't until I left that whole life back and came here that I really started uncovering all the healing and knowing the trauma that was there, and recognizing the low self-worth, the shame that I carried. It all, the pieces fell into place. But you're right. You can't create from fear and lack and scarcity and, shame, like survival. You can create when you feel grounded and loved and abundant and safe and all these things. That's when you can be creative. So I'm so glad that you did what you did. I mean, it's very courageous. And
Linda, there's one other thing I would like to say. I think that it's when you don't deal with it. It's just not like all the unprocessed trauma will come out in different ways in your life. Because I think I used to think, oh, well, we'll just push it down and we won't deal with it. And, I tried that for many, many years, but it always comes back in some way and it will be affecting your behavior unconsciously anyway.
yeah,
So I know it's painful and horrible, but I really liken it to having a thorn in my heart where I finally just took the thorn out, where I could then let it start to heal rather than trying to make sure no one touched the thorn and protected the thorn. And it
right.
is painful, but I think just so necessary if you want to really move on with your life.
Exactly. If you want to thrive, you have to, step up and step into your power because we are powerful. What other books or coaches have made a big impact in your life?
I've got my bookshelf behind. I love Michael Singer. I love his work. Louise, this was the first self-help book I ever read, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay.
I love her.
So that took me on my kind of self-help journey.
Yeah, she's amazing. So amazing. I love Louise Hay. Yeah, Love Yourself, Heal Your Life. I have her books. And then when you were talking about the thorn, I thought of Michael Singer.
Yeah. That's why I kind of got that because I realized in The Untethered Soul, that's exactly what I'd done with my life.
Yeah.
Just built all this stuff around it just so nothing could touch it.
Exactly. You guard yourself. You don't let anybody in. You only attract these emotionally unavailable people. Like I know all about it because I lived it. And then it wasn't until I realized as I healed and cocooned here in my apartment in Florida for 3 years with the dog, my heart's now more open. And because of this, the love starts, like Louise Hay will say, love starts, you give it to yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we have to give it to ourselves first and then we can attract it. But this has been amazing. I really appreciate. I'm going to get your book. Where can people order the book?
So at the moment, it's available on pre-order on Kindle, but it will be available for paperback, and it comes out on the 27th of June next month.
Tell us about the post-traumatic stress disorder day.
So it's PTSD Awareness Day. So I thought it'd be a really good day to release the book. And also because I was diagnosed with complex PTSD. So it's the kind of the complex trauma as well. So it's not always, the people sometimes associate PTSD with, be like in a war. But yeah, it's the kind of prolonged trauma that people have kind of endured in, especially childhood.
Right.
So damaging. So it's kind of just to raise awareness, to hope also to kind of destigmatize what is, it's an uncomfortable subject. It's
right.
It's not great dinner conversation. It's pretty sticky but I think really necessary.
A thought came to mind. Were you medicated for a lot of disorders or mental problems throughout like your younger years, and then you did you talk about that with Hal? I don't remember
No, I was on antidepressants for quite a long time after I was bullied at work for a good, I don't know, 5-6 years.
But now,
but since then, I really wanted to do this naturally. At that time, I did need medication because I was so low. But as time went on, I tried to go more the natural route of just kind of, exercise, meditation.
Right.
I didn't want to be reliant on antidepressants.
Right. Yeah. Because I had an interview with someone who was, it's really a Band-Aid, right? I mean, some people do need it. I'm not saying I'm against it or anything. If you need it, you need it. But I just feel like sometimes the doctors just like are writing the scripts without saying, you know, are you sleeping? Are you exercising? You know what I mean? Like the whole person, right? And then the mental health stuff. So we're not happy 24/7. I mean, we all have our ups and downs, right? I mean, it's, you know, but I think exercise is so gigantic for our mental and physical health.
Yeah, and sleep. You know, sort of mentioned sleep. I get, make sure I get enough sleep. I wake up. I sort of meditate. I've got my morning routine. And there's all these kind of habits: drinking enough water, just eating well,
Yes.
avoid sugar. There's just a whole, so many things you can do that will help.
Absolutely. Yes. So you must be excited about the book coming out. I'm so excited for you because I also remember you saying something about a pen name. You almost wrote it in a pen name and then you said, no, I'm doing it. Right.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, and also I couldn't even, in the early stages of the book, I couldn't even tell people what the book was about. I had my cover story was like, oh, it's about self-esteem. Because a lot of people didn't even know my story. And eventually I found the courage to tell people what the book was actually about. And I had to, with a title like Not My Shame, if I did write it under a pen name, I would still have to try and promote the book. And it just wouldn't have made sense.
It's a powerful book title. Do you have so you've got the name and then what does it say under Not My Shame? Does it say something like
Healing childhood trauma.
Oh, healing childhood trauma. Excellent. Yeah, good stuff. Very good. You're helping a lot of people. So I'm really glad for that. Thank you for sharing your story with us, Daniela. It was wonderful.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. I'll let you know when the show's out and we'll put all your links in the show notes. So on Amazon, you can get the Kindle right now.
Yes.
Or pre-order. Yeah.
Yeah, pre-order. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope it was inspiring. I hope that you were inspired to step deeper into your power and embrace the abundance that's around you and within you. If you loved this episode, please share with someone you think would benefit. Subscribe so you know when the next episode is, and leave a review. It means so much to me to grow this audience. Let's try to help as many people as we can. Let's try to create a new earth. And let's stay connected. Follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram at Linda Brand Coach and Abandoned to Abundant. Also, if you're ready to take your transformation even further, check out my coaching and resources at lindabrandcoach.com. Remember, you are worthy, you are powerful, and abundance is your birthright. Take care, everybody. Till next time.